Hi, I'm Dylan, and I want to run you through a simple mobility routine that I designed to really counteract a lot of the negative aspects that we get from prolonged sitting. So I call this sort of like an anti-sitting routine. So it's a series of original strength resets and some stretching mobility exercises that I like to do for myself and for my clients. And so I really wanted to put this out there so everybody has access to it. It's a few minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes. It shouldn't take a lot out of your day, and you can do it, first thing in the morning, first thing when you're done, when you come back home from work, or if you're working from home, you take a break. It's meant to seamlessly sort of go into your day, hopefully in some way, shape, or form. So that being said, I want to jump into it. I'm not going to go into full detail about all the exercises and why they're there. They're really just, it's here for its demonstrative purposes. I'm going to put out the routine. I'm going to go through it. You can follow along, and whenever you need it, just come back to this video. So first things first, any proper mobility routine, we got to address your breathing. So if we're addressing all the tension that we are carrying up here from prolonged sitting, if we're breathing with all these auxiliary muscles and the chest is coming up a lot as you breathe throughout the day, of course you're going to have tension up here. So let's start focus our breathing from our diaphragm. We're going to breathe down into our belly, and we want to have as minimal focus on the chest and up and around this area as possible. Okay, so we're going to focus on breathing through the diaphragm. So what I'm going to want you to do is to swallow, close your mouth, and we're going to breathe exclusively through the nose, both inhale and exhale. Let's get one hand here, and I want you to breathe into this bottom hand. So let's do 10 relatively deep breaths, 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out, so it'll be for 1 minute. And we'll start with that. 3, 2, 1, and exhale for 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, and exhale for 2, 1. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And just continue on at your own pace. Three more breaths. And good. So with everything else that we're going to do, I want you to maintain that same breathing pattern. Inhale, exhale through the nose, and breathe into the diaphragm. So deep down into that belly here. So being that we spent a lot of our day in flexion, facing forward, most of this routine is spent in extension. So let's say this is neutral, we're going to be pulling ourselves up. So instead of the head coming down, we're going to be lifting up. So we're going to start with some head nods. So original strength in reference to head control, the second reset. Tuck the chin in, and we'll lift out. I want you to lead with the eyes. So we're going to look down when you go down. We'll look up when you go up. Inhale nice and tall. Exhale down. Make sure you're bringing the ears away from the shoulders when you lift up. So we're not shrugging up when you look up. You're pulling the shoulder blades down and back. And then let's bring some rotation. We're going to look at the head side to side. You can move the upper body with it. So you can roll the shoulders with it. But in this whole sequence, we're going to work on your entire spinal column. So we're looking at cervical spine, which we're working on now, going down to thoracic spine, and then going down to our lumbar spine. So from here, we're going to keep on that rotation. We're going to go further down the spine into our T-spine. So we're going to lift up and we're going to do an upper body roll. We're going to reach over and switch. Arm up, pull yourself over and back out. So try not to push with any of the limbs. You're just pulling yourself with those back muscles. And getting your obliques in there as well. You got to keep the head up high still, so it's not going to be down on the ground. And just like the head nods and the rotations, you're going to look in the direction that you're going to roll in. One more here. From here, we're going to rock from our knees. Head elevated, come forward and back. So we're keeping a neutral spine. We're not rounding it up. We're not letting it drop down. A few rocks here. We're going to bring some mobility to our hips, and then we're going to go into a hip flexor stretch. Now into the hip flexor stretch. If you want to double up the padding, put a little more padding underneath your knee, that's fine. It's greatly encouraged. So you can just tuck back the mat slightly, knee down, one leg forward, and we're going to just rock back and forth. I want to stretch down these hip flexors because they can as well get tight from sitting from prolonged periods of time. They're not getting stretched out. Like when do you sit and the knee's going behind your hip? It's not. The knees, it's like this. It's always in front of you. So it's important to stretch these muscles out and not just stretch them, but mobilize them. Give them some movement. So that's why we're doing these rocks. It's not just a static hold. We'll switch legs. Same thing, we're going to rock back and forth. You go down, feel a stretch. Come back, go down, feel a stretch. Come back. So again, if you're sitting for prolonged periods of time, you don't want to counter it with more long static holds, because sitting is basically a long static hold. You want to counter it by bringing some mobility to those joints, bringing some movement there. Basically balance out the inactivity with activity, right? We're going to continue stretching out the hips. We're going to sit back down. We're going to go into what is called a shin box. So legs 90. We're going to just rotate the legs over, bring them down. We're going to start with the hands on the floor, and we're just trying to mobilize that femur in the socket here. Now the goal is to get both legs down to 90. Some people can't, particularly if you have really tight hips. Don't worry about that. Just go to whatever range you could take it to and see if you can extend it. Now, if this is easy, we can get a little bit more core involvement as well by just bringing the arms up. Now we gotta use that trunk rotation, and we're gonna match it with our shin blocks. If you wanted an additional stretch, you can bring the chest down to the shins. We can bring in that movement. A few seconds down. Now let's come back with a slightly longer hold. Basically just a full exhale. And let's bring in that trunk mobility, so that hip mobility with our lumbar spine. So our legs spread, and we're going to rotate around. So now we get to stretch out the hamstrings a bit. Again, hamstrings is another muscle that group that can get tight because they're always just semi-bent. So they're not, again, when do you sit with your legs fully extended, right? We're going to do some rotations this way. And every time you peel over, you should feel a slight stretch in that hamstring. And then when we change directions, let's go the other way, you should feel a greater stretch in the hamstring that you're going towards. So in the other leg that we haven't worked yet. Meanwhile, this whole time, we're mobilizing that lumbar spine. So we did the head nods and the head rotations for our cervical spine. We did our upper body rolls for our thoracic spine. And now with this, we're doing some lumbar spine work. So the whole goal is to bring that tension away from the spine so it's not stiff and rigid. We'll do some other rotations with just reach across, touch the toe. So get a hamstring stretch in there as well. Now I'm going across with the opposite arm, because if you go with the same arm, you can just turn the chest and it makes it a little bit easier. So I want to get that full rotation in there. Go as far as you can tolerate. So if you can only go to your calves, only go to your calves. If you can get to your toe, get to your big toe. If you can get your wrist right past your toe, then get your wrist right past your toe. Depends on what level what you're at right now. We're going to come down. That was excellent. We're going to come back into a few more lumbar spine and oblique engagement exercises, some windshield wipers. So legs at 90, we're just going to bring them over and pull them back. Now you want to keep your shoulders down onto the mat. So if you're coming here and the shoulders are coming up, you stop. That's your end range of motion. Your goal is to be able to get the legs down at 90 and both shoulders down, but that's not entirely going to be the case for everybody. So whatever your true range of motion is, if you're here and the legs are just above the floor, then that's fine. Just take it to wherever you can. We're going to do quite a few reps here, not too much, but we're at the same time we're mobilizing and we're also strengthening and engaging those obliques. And then knees in, we're going to rock up. So rocks are another fantastic exercise for your back because it's going to bring in an element of reflexive strength. So your body has to fire and stabilize in response to it moving back and forth, right? So you're in a huddled position and your core has to be engaged to protect that spine. So we're going to start rocking with your knees, and it's exactly what you think it is. You're going to roll back onto your shoulder blades and spring back up. Now, if you don't have particularly good fluidity in your back, you might feel a thump, you might hear a thump. It's not desired. Keep the core a little tighter, but it's also just something that you might work up to. Okay, so a few more rocks here. But this should feel really good on the spine. If you want a little more core engagement, we can do this hands-free. So you're using those abs to keep your body in a nice tight ball. Let's do one more. And that's it. You know, it's a few minutes. You're done. You should be able to sit upright. You know, like I said, undone a lot of the damage that you've done in sitting from everything being pulled upon and being hunched over. We've now engaged our core. We're breathing more efficiently. We're adding stability to our trunk from breathing more efficiently as well. We've done a lot of rotation and mobility for cervical spine, thoracic spine, lumbar spine. So it just undoes a lot of the damages just from being dead and stuck in one position for a long time. So I hope you guys found that helpful. There'll be more videos coming along the way. And if you have any special requests, just send them my way. I'm always here to help. So I'm Dylan Normanin, and thank you for spending that time with me.